It's still a job at the end of the day, and it's sure we have a calling to it, but it's not your life. And so being able to find the things that make you excited or the goals you want to go after outside of nursing is really good. And it helps me personally to prevent the burnout and stress that so many of us in this profession feel because it's not just going to work every single day.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Emergency Nursing podcast. This is where we share stories for inspiration, entertainment, and encouragement because we all know emergency nurses have the best stories. Now, here's your host, Kevin McFarland.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Art of Emergency Nursing. This is Kevin McFarland, your host. And thanks, as always, for downloading this episode. Now, please do me a favor. Don't forget to leave a rating and review for this podcast. As we get towards the end of 2023, now's a great time to do so if you haven't done so already. Leaving a rating and review helps other nurses like you find this podcast. So I'd really appreciate it if you take the time to do that. Way back in 2020, I recorded an episode with my friend Britt Klocko, and I wanted to do a quick check-in with her because she's done a lot of really cool things since we last spoke. I'll put a link to that episode that we recorded together in the show notes if you want to go back and check it out. It's called Tiaras and Tetanus. You'll understand when you listen to the episode. But this woman is amazing. She's an emergency nurse and so much more, which she'll talk about in this episode. I think the big take-home lesson in this episode is that your life should be so much more than what happens when you're clocked in for your shift. So sit back, relax, enjoy this episode with my friend, Britt Klocko. Well, what I thought we'd do is just do kind of a quick update. Like, what have you been doing since we talked last? Because you've done a lot of stuff since then. Talk a little bit about your volunteer work, because I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
Even though it's not super nursey, but it's still really cool.
It's not nursey, but it is fun. Yeah. So, wow. Okay. So last time it was 2020. So I guess a lot's changed since then. Like 3 years, but it feels like a lifetime at the same time.
Isn't it true? Like, it seems like, when you think about that, COVID was just a couple of years ago, and not that COVID's gone away, but like, It's not what it was.
Right.
And it just seems like it's been forever.
Well, it's so crazy because time stood still for so long and like days were going, but nothing was changing. And then everything changed and everyone had to catch up for so people have lived lifetimes in these last 3 years, I feel like.
Right.
Yeah. So let's see, since 2020, I was an NFL cheerleader for a year. So that was new.
How was that? I seen you doing that and I was like, oh, this is the craziest thing ever.
I got into that because I have always loved football. Football is like my first love. It's been the most important thing for most of my life because it's something that my dad and I did together. He grew up having season tickets to the New York Giants and we lived in Pennsylvania. So we would drive up there for game nights. And I mean, like he taught me everything on the way home, like how to spell words, what life was, like anything you can think of. So it's always been really special for us. But he was a Giants fan and lived in Steelers country, and neither of them have cheerleaders. So I never really thought much about getting into the NFL. And then as an adult, I was like, I would just love to be part of the NFL any way possible. I would love to be part of the NFL. And one of my friends called me and she's like, oh, do you know that like a couple of these teams have cheerleading positions that aren't all dance, that they like spend more of their time talking to reporters, doing game day stuff with the fans, more of a role that isn't all cheering. And I was like, I had no clue that even existed. And so I was like, send me all the information. And that's kind of how it started. And, I want to say like I trained hard and I worked hard to get there, but I didn't ever cheer in high school, didn't dance in high school. That wasn't part of my life. And I just love football. I love to talk about football. I love to be part of football. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it started. Got into it and it was an awesome year. There were definitely parts of it that I wouldn't suggest for others, but for me, being on the field, football, game going on, talking to fans, doing all the volunteering things that you get to do, it was awesome. Kind of a dream come true. I was standing next to like 6 Lombardi trophies and got to wear a Super Bowl ring on my finger, and yeah, it was fun.
Cool.
So yeah.
That's cool. And can you tell the audience what team you were a cheerleader for?
Oh yeah, I was a New England Patriots cheerleader. Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So that was amazing. Such a great life experience. You know, I ended up not trying out again. Every year you have to re-audition. So I didn't try out again for reasons other than football. But I mean, it was just a great experience to kind of live out a dream my whole life. So
That's cool.
awesome. So I did that. I'm now the current Ms. America's United States. So I'm a national title holder with pageants. Last
That's
time
awesome.
I was living in Texas and competed for Miss Texas United States.
Yep.
And now I'm Ms. America's United States. So pretty awesome, which is great. It's a really awesome system. I keep saying the word awesome, but I just really love it. I mean, it's a great system because it's really community service based. And that is something that I really, really care about. If anybody looks at any of my stuff, you'll see I'm always doing something community service based. And so what I focus my year of service on is mostly, well, there's two parts. The first one is medically underserved communities. So doing free urgent cares, free clinics, like doing blood pressure vitals and stuff for different communities, cancer walks, literally anything that has to do with medicine, pretty much try to be involved in, which is great. And then the other is disaster relief. So that's the non-nursing part, but that's something I love. So I work with an organization called Samaritan's Purse. It's a Christian-based organization, but we help people regardless of, their beliefs. And we go to disaster sites throughout the country, actually throughout the world, but I work at the US-based ones. And so there's tornado, hurricane, flood, fire. We send big teams there to help. And so I've been on 6 deployments with them and, working chainsaws, doing roofing, tarping, tree removal, gutting houses completely, getting rid of whatever's molded, taking out drywall, literally anything you could think of that you would need in a disaster
Holy cow.
situation.
Now, you may or may not know this, but we were in Houston when Hurricane Harvey hit. And,
Yeah.
we got our apartment got flooded, but it wasn't bad,
Right.
comparatively to what some people were experiencing there.
Yeah.
But like even just a block from the apartment we lived in, you just see these neighborhoods that were just decimated, and they had 6 foot of water in their house, and I just remember seeing all the drywall taken out, all the all the everything in the in
Yeah.
the house just being just gutted, and people just going through and just kind of having to rebuild their homes from scratch practically.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
And
crazy.
it's called a mud out, like where we do it. And you have to literally take everything down to dry, like the studs, like no drywall, just
Yeah,
completely.
yeah.
And it's hard. And so that's why I love doing that, because kind of just like emergency nursing, you're there on people's worst day and you really have the ability to make a difference. So yeah, we're like working on trees and roofs and stuff like that, but we're there for the homeowners and we get to talk to them and let them know that they're really not being forgotten during a really tough situation in their life. Because, when hurricanes and storms and all that stuff come through, people are going through their own stuff in life. You get to
Oh,
hear
amen.
crazy stories about what people are going through, or someone just lost their family member, or someone's in the hospital, or whatever else, and then a storm comes through and then just kind of disrupts their peace. And so just being able to be there and say, like, you're not forgotten, and people there, and we're here to help, and it's free, and all you got to do is just invite us in. It's really impactful and meaningful, and a big reason why I keep coming back. So, and I mean, think like I said, it really just parallels being an emergency room nurse. They're going through other things in life before they get sick. Um, People are dealing with chronic illnesses, but even you think of like a car accident, like other things are going on in that person's life, and they come into the ER and you get to treat them, but there's a lot behind the person as well.
And I think that's something that sometimes we as nurses kind of forget, like it's not all about right here and right now. Like they got a lot more going on than you'll ever know.
Yeah.
And you may not you may not ever know their whole story, and everyone's got a story. So it's, it's kind of I always think about that when people come in and maybe they're not as nice as they should be, like I always say, like, give them a little extra grace. We don't know what they're going through.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even some people that AMA and people, love the AMA. Oh, if they don't want to be here, like leave. But you truly don't know what they're going back to at home. And you don't know if they have pets that they don't have a friend they could ask to watch their dog for 3 weeks, or they
Yeah.
don't have the finances to hire somebody to babysit their kids, or they have to work because if they don't work, they'll get evicted. Like you don't really know what's going on behind the person. And it's, difficult in the ER. We don't have a ton of time to get to really know people. But
Yeah.
like you said, just mentally going in with the mindset that you're going to give them extra grace because everybody's going through crazy stuff in their life before they end up in the ER.
Yep.
It's super true.
Always. And, one of the things that, and that goes for staff too, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
even your peers, you're like, give people a little extra grace. You don't know what people are going through.
Yeah.
I talked to a coworker recently who I had no idea was in the middle of going through a divorce, and like,
Yeah.
you never would have known, but like, she was devastated. She was just a wreck.
Oh, it's so
Um,
true. I mean, I think of this coworker I had that for, weeks and weeks, like just was really upset. And we were like, yeah, what's going on? What's going on? And come to find out, like none of us knew they were fostering 8 kids and all of them had special disability. So people were on vents at his house, G tubes, stuff like that. Like that was his mission, is to foster the children that needed medical supervision. And I guess one of his foster children ended up passing away because of a medical illness that was chronic. It was obviously nothing on his behalf, but we're just like, man, like we had no clue he even fostered anybody, let alone we had so many. And yeah, you still had to come to work and show up and do your job. It's tough. It's tough.
yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's tough. And sometimes, I mean, I know even the best of us are sometimes just not in the right headspace. Like,
Yeah.
you're just like, I'm not in the right headspace for this today. And that's okay. I think if you have a good team, you can say, hey, you know what? I might not be the best person for this patient right now.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that goes a really long
Absolutely.
way. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been doing the disaster stuff. And so that's been great. I walked in New York Fashion Week, so that's kind of crazy. And then I'll be back again for New York Fashion Week in February. So
how was that? What was that experience
wild.
like?
It was amazing. I walked in New York Fashion Week in the middle of Times Square. So there are a lot of different types of fashion shows throughout New York Fashion Week. A lot of them are closed events. Some are open events, but still, indoors in different places. And ours was a runway in the middle of Times Square. And
Wow.
that was a little bit terrifying for me, but it's always
It's
great
got to be
to.
intimidating.
It is, but you push out of your comfort zone and awesome. I got to walk through 3 different designers. It was a blast. We were there for a few hours outside. There was probably 30 to 40,000 people that walked by during the show. And so it was crazy. I think that that's something that's really important though, because in nursing, it becomes part of your life, but it's good to remember it's not your life. It's still a job at the end of the day, and it's sure we have a calling to it, but it's not your life. And so being able to find the things that make you excited or the goals you want to go after outside of nursing is really good. And it helps me personally to prevent the burnout and stress that so many of us in this profession feel, because it's not just going to work every single day.
And
Um,
yeah.
and
How many people do you know that just do that? Like, they work and that's it.
yeah,
They like work and then they're off for a few days waiting to go back to work.
yeah, I know many, 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 many people like that. And I mean, obviously it's a little different for me. I don't have a family, but I have a lot of friends that are parents as well, and they're still doing the same thing with me. I mean, I cheered with women that were mothers. I walked in New York Fashion Week, and I have pageant sisters that are mothers and kids and also have careers and stuff like that. So being able to find something, whether it's something huge like a pageant or being an NFL cheerleader, or something small that just gets you out of always being a nurse. It's really important. It's a good healthy balance. And then I go back to work and it's not so crazy. When you get a
Yeah.
long stretch off, you don't mind going back the first day. So
Yeah. You go back, you're like, okay, this is good. I can do this.
yeah, kind
I
of
remember,
reinvigorates you.
I remember when I worked for the Department of Health for a while, and it was a total admin job, right? And I still
Yeah.
work part-time in the ER. And I would show up to the ER on like the weekends and stuff because I was Monday through Friday most of the time. So I'd show up on the weekends and they'd be like, well, we're going to put you in what we called mech at the time. It was basically the drunk tank slash psych.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we're going to put you back there. I'm like, great, let's do it. I'm in, let's go. And they're like, don't you hate taking care of those kinds of patients? I'm like, no, man, I can take great care of drunk folks. The psych
Yeah.
folks, I can take great care of them. I got 12 hours to just be nice and be as nice as I can to them and get them what they need and try to get them taken care of, make sure they don't get any sicker than they are. And I'll be all right. This is good. And I would go in with that attitude, like, oh yeah, this is great. It's like a privilege to be here. And some of the people who are there full time are just like, and yeah, you have a different appreciation when you're not doing it every day.
You do. You 100% do. Um, and and on top of not doing it every day, if you have something else that you're kind of doing outside of work, then work doesn't just become what you think about on your time off. I mean, there were so many times I finish a shift and I would still think about it for a couple of days of what happened to the person or what could be done better or whatever. But now I'm too busy to really think about it. I mean, I can let work stay at work, and when I go home, let it go because I've got other things I'm trying to do or having fun experiences or working hard at something else. And
Like, yeah,
it's nice to give your brain a break from all that.
how exciting. What a cool thing
Yeah.
it's so cool that you're so involved with all these different things. That's awesome.
Yeah, I do. Said you're a nurse. I like being busy, I guess. Um, but yeah, it's great. It's just so many things, like I said, have happened in 3 years, cheerleading, pageants, fashion week. Um, I can't really talk much about it yet, but I was on a reality show, so you'll see that next year when it pops up.
That how was that experience? Like that. It. I mean, I don't watch a lot of reality TV. My wife does, and it always looks like a train wreck.
I'm not a reality person. I can't tell you a reality TV show I watch other than like, Chopped, I guess. That's technically a reality TV show, but it's about cooking. Um, yeah, I'm not really a reality girl. I was like, I'll never do that. But
Yeah.
this seemed much different. And so I was willing to give it a shot.
How cool.
Yeah.
And what next for you? What else you got going, or what do you think you're gonna do next? You said you're getting ready to take a new travel assignment.
Yeah, new travel assignment. But I'm looking kind of in the long term, and mostly what I've been trying to do is the organization that I do all of the volunteer work for disaster relief. They have a medical side. They basically it's an as needed staffing, so it can't be your full time job. But we set up field hospitals in different places. So when COVID hit, they had a field hospital in New York City. They're setting one up in Israel right now. And you go for 3 weeks ish at a time, basically work 7 days a week and do medical mission work pretty much. I mean, that one is a paid position, but like I said, it's as needed. So you can't use it as your full-time job. So there is a lot that I've been looking through with that. Oh, wait, I misspoke. So that one is called DART, DART, Disaster in something Relief Team, Disaster Response Relief Team, or something like that. But yeah, for Samaritan's Purse. And so I've been looking into that. Kind of crazy because, my family's here in America, my parents. So being away from them would be tough. 3 weeks is not so big of a deal, but
Yeah.
that one is kind of trying to figure out how to have a job that would accommodate me being able to leave at
Yeah.
short notice for 3 weeks to be in another country. So I've been kind of looking into that. And then other than that, I was looking into the World Medical Mission, which is also a subset of Samaritan's Purse, but that's medical mission work. So like I did in Uganda with a different organization, it'd be the same. They have a longer commitment though. You're supposed to be 3 months somewhere, and that's kind of where I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can be
A lot.
away from my family that long. And that is volunteer. So
Yeah,
you're
that's a
obviously
lot.
not getting paid for that. But I just love medical mission work. So they did have an opening in Nigeria at one of their hospitals. And that one only required a 2-week notice or a 2-week commitment. So I was looking into that. And then one in Egypt where you actually teach nursing school. So
Wow.
yeah. So
That's
I
kind of
would
cool.
really love that. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been looking. You never know what I'm gonna do next, to be honest. My
Right.
parents say nothing I do surprises them anymore, but I feel like it's focused a lot on medical stuff, kind of future goals about other ways to help people really get involved. I'd love to get married, but that is not happening yet. So we'll see.
What's like the long-term goal? Like 10 years from now, what would you be able to say, this is what I do, this is what I'm
My life dream would be to live on a ranch or a farm and be married and work on the ranch or the farm with my husband, and then be able to do like the disaster darting. So basically, just at any time, be able to get up and leave for a couple weeks and leave him at home with the kids to fend for themselves. And, so still doing nursing in that sense, but not working a regular nursing job. That would be like the
nice.
ultimate goal.
Cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. And still doing the pageant stuff?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So, current Ms. America's United States. So my reign will end next August, so August 2024. So I still got quite a bit of time left on that. It's been great. I've been doing a lot of different events with, like I said, I try to make mine all medical as much as possible. So different cancer walks, fundraising for that, fundraising for a children's cancer fund. Stuff down in right now I'm in Nashville, so in Memphis, at St. Jude's. It's really close to Nashville, just a couple
That's
hours
cool.
away. Um, and yeah, really just trying to get as involved as possible.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, I never did pageants. That was also a later in life situation. So I really did it because I was able to connect with so many women that really do a lot for the community and care a lot about others. And being around other women that really support one another and build each other up and are like, no, go chase after your dreams. Like that is why I joined. And it's been amazing. I mean, that's why I became an NFL cheerleader because one of my pageant sisters was like, hey, you should do this. This is meant for you. And I really wouldn't be where I am and do as much as I do without having had that as a foundation. So I'm really lucky that I decided to do it because I was a tomboy growing up. That wasn't really my thing. But yeah, I started late in my life.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, do you see yourself going back to like the cheerleading, or is that done? And
I have a lot of friends on the Kansas City Chiefs cheer team. And because I tried out for them for 3 years. And so it would be kind of an ultimate dream to be with them on the field and cheer with them. But, you know, it might not be what God has in planned for me, but hopefully, I mean, that'd be great. It would be
that'd be cool.
awesome. I can't say yes or no about whether I'll try out again next year. Always in the back of my mind. It would be such a dream. Have just some really, really good people that are in Kansas City. And so, like,
That's
oh, it just
cool.
so happens I'm going there right now. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say, and you're going there now, so you have
yeah,
built-in friends as soon as you get out there.
exactly. So
That's kind of
that's
cool.
great.
That's very cool. How exciting! And who's your
Yeah.
football team?
I'm a diehard Steelers fan.
Okay,
Yeah.
all
So
right.
my parents grew up in Steelers country. They live in northeastern Pennsylvania, which I guess it's actually closer to Philly than it is to Pittsburgh, but it's a coal mining town. So very blue collar, hardworking people. And they just adopted the Steelers as their team. So we love the Steelers and we love the Giants still because my dad's season tickets. So we were for them both all the time. But
Cool.
yeah,
That's cool. Well,
yeah.
it's so great to catch up with you and hear all the cool things that you're doing.
Thank
When
you.
I post this episode, I'll post in the show notes. I'll post a link to the other episode we did in 2020.
Yeah, awesome.
So
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's just been great. It's like, even with NFL cheerleading, you're required to have a full-time job. So nursing's always going to still be part of what I do. Um, but seeing so many people burn out from nursing, especially recently, like they estimated 1 in 4 left during the pandemic and 2 out of 4 are going to leave by 2027. That's
mm,
3 out of 4 people that were nurses in 2019 will not be
isn't that
nurses
crazy?
anymore.
I mean, burnout is real. I mean, it's
It is. We're being asked to do so much more with so much less. And, people are very chronically ill. The treatment that nurses have received has been getting worse and worse. We've now become the number one most dangerous career in the United States, even above police officers, due to our work injuries and assaults.
isn't it just
It's
crazy?
it's wild. So going in every single day, knowing all this stuff and seeing how exhausted we are and how short-staffed we are and how all of our resources and those positions keep going away. I felt like I love nursing and I want to continue to love nursing. And so I had to find something else to do other than just nursing. And so that's where I started, trying to see what I could do to chase my dreams and what else did I want to do besides being a nurse. I kind of grew up always loving medicine and that was something that never changed. But what else outside of that? So cooking classes, love to cook, love to bake, and just doing that like once a month it's been so nice, um, and gets you kind of outside of that headspace that you're always in nursing mode, and that's what I found helped me with burnout, and so many of my coworkers now are gone. I've been a nurse now for 9 years, and so there's when I started back in 2014, there were coworkers I had that have been nurses for 25 years. And I just thought, "Oh, that's the norm." And now wherever I go, I tend to be one of the older nurses there, which is kinda crazy because we all got into this thinking, that it was a career and that we'd love it forever. So just trying to find a way to balance it to still
Yeah.
love it forever.
It's true because I remember when I first started in the emergency department, even before I became a nurse, I was a tech in the ER. And I
Yeah.
remember, the nurses had been there, 10, 15 years. They'd all, 10, 15, 20-year nurses where I was like going, they've forgotten more about nursing than I know now,
Yeah.
right? And
So true.
just the amazing wealth of knowledge they have. And then now, I look around the emergency department that I work with now, like 2, 3 years, maybe 4 years, some a little more than that. But for the most part, like I'd say probably 2 to 5 is
Yes. Yeah.
like a lot.
Yes.
And even then, we're still, we got brand new grads starting there too. Like,
Yep.
which, when I first became a nurse, a new grad in the ER was not something you heard about. It was starting to become more common, but it
Right.
wasn't something you heard about. A lot of times they'd be like, go get experience somewhere else first.
Right. Right. Yeah,
So
I can't imagine if somebody had to do that, like, old way of 2 years of med surge before specialty, like,
yeah,
I don't know, like, would we have any nurses in
I,
specialties?
yeah, I don't, yeah, I wonder because, thing about it is, and this is what I always tell people when people ask me like about going straight to the ER out of nursing school. I'm like, if ER nursing is your passion and it's really, really, really what you want to do, it's what you want to do forever and ever, then it probably makes some sense to just go straight into the ER because you're not going to
Yeah.
be happy anywhere else. But if you're not sure, then it, you could benefit a lot. Like one of the things I've always found is I never worked med surge, I never worked tele or anything like that or any kind of inpatient. And now with as many ER holds as we have in the ER, where essentially a lot of ER nurses are inpatient nurses anymore.
Yes.
And I just don't have that skill set. Like I'm just like I was like, I remember someone saying, something the first time saying, "Oh yeah, we'll check the MAR," and I'm like, "What the hell's the MAR?" Like I don't even remember that. And and they're like seriously, you don't even know? I'm like, "No, I grew up as an ER nurse. Like what do I know?" Um, and now I think I have a greater appreciation in the role I'm in now. I think I have a greater appreciation because I see how hard those med surg nurses, those tele nurses work. They work their tails off.
Oh,
And
yeah,
and they're good. They know
they
sick
are.
when they see it. They're like, we had a nurse call and she's like, "Hey, we got this guy. This is what's going on. He looks sick." And if that nurse is telling me that the person looks sick, then by golly, they're gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, still the ER nursing is the coolest,
Oh, I
but
agree. I mean, I went straight to ER because I like you, I wouldn't have been happy anywhere else for sure.
yeah,
But just like you said, I mean, it is such a skill, and I feel like what I find the most comforting about being in the ER is our doctors are right there. So if something is going wrong, we don't have to
yeah, you're
worry
safe.
about paging or finding them or keep on trying to get an order from somebody. They just walk up and I'm like, "Hey,
Yeah,
I
you're
need
like,
this,"
here's
and you
what we
don't
got.
get that.
That's a good point. I kind of forget that, but you're absolutely right. Like, because I don't know how many times the nurses, they'll call me and be like, "Hey, I've been trying to get a hold of this doctor all night," and I'll be like, "Okay, well, let
Yeah,
me try calling." And sometimes we can get a hold of them, sometimes we can't.
yeah.
But like in the ER, it's like, "Hey, Joe, come over here and take a look at this, person."
Right. Well, and even like I've had, like you said, many, many holds, especially the last couple of years. And there have been times I've been trying to get a hold of their hospitalist and can't get a hold, can't get a hold, can't get a hold. And the patient is crashing. And I'm just grab an ER doctor and I'm like, "Hey, I know this isn't your patient, but like somebody has to see him or he is about to die." And I work with some really amazing doctors, and so they definitely will jump in and help. On the
Yeah,
floor, you don't get that. You don't have the backup. You just that. And
yeah,
so,
it's just you guys. Yeah, for
yeah,
the
so
most part.
definitely a lot of appreciation for people, med surg tele, um, anyone that doesn't have direct access to a doctor, because I feel like that's pretty scary, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a different world. Exciting. Well, I got to tell you, it takes a lot of guts to be able to travel around like that. And just pick
Yeah.
up and go and try someplace new, especially where you don't know anyone. That
Yeah.
takes a lot of guts.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope that that somehow serves as an encouragement to other people out there. I mean, I'm a single female traveling the country alone, and you can do it. I mean, and I'm an introvert. I'm not an extrovert, which seems kind of contradictory because I did pageants and NFL cheerleading. But when you think about it, NFL cheerleading, you're not talking to people if you're on the field. You're not talking. And then if you are talking to people, it's more one-on-one conversations, which I'm really comfortable with.
Yeah.
And same thing with pageants. We do judges interviews, so we're talking one-on-one with people or regular interviews with other people. Other than that, you're on a stage and you're not talking to people. So
Yeah.
it actually works for us introverts to kind of get out of our comfort zone. Um, but yeah, so being in a city I don't know anyone is hard as an introvert, but it always encourages me to grow, which is great. Some of the best friends I've ever made have been people I met while traveling or doing things like this, and so
Yeah.
that's great. And also that there's no real timeline on your life. Pageants is a thing that most people start when they're younger in their teens. Up until this year, you had an age category of how old you could be before you aged out. So America was 26, Miss USA was 27. So I started after I'd aged out of those systems.
Yeah.
And being able to still do things when people say you're too old, it's kind of what I love to do.
That's awesome. I
And
love
just
that.
getting out there. I mean, I was an NFL cheerleader at age 30, so I
That's
wasn't
cool.
22 doing it. I was 30 when I tried out and started trying out. So there's really no age limit on what you can achieve, I guess. And
Yeah.
when I think about it, 28 or 30, it's not old by any stretch of the imagination. My
No.
parents are in their 70s. I still feel like they're young sometimes, but um a lot of times people place a lot of weight on things that society sees. You have to have your job by this age, you have to be moved in by this age, you have to Have
Yeah.
your career set by
There's no
this age.
timeline. There's no timeline on this,
Yeah.
this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't. So, I mean, how many people did I go to nursing school with? I did an advanced nursing program. So it's my second degree. It wasn't what I went to college for originally. And so many people in there, that was their second job. Like they had a full career before they decided to become a nurse. And so,
oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that if anybody is listening that is afraid to chase some dreams because they're a certain age, whether it be 26 and they're thought they should have been married, or if they're 55 and they're like, "Can I really change my career? Can I really go out for that thing? Could I really
Yeah.
be a model?" Yeah, you can. I have worked with many and seen many. So you can
Absolutely.
do
Absolutely.
whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, there's no age limit on a lot of the stuff that we kind of tend to think there is. Like I
Yeah.
remember when I went to nursing school, we had and one of the new nurses that I went to school with was in her mid 50s. And she was
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. This is what her thing was like, this is what I've always wanted to do. And I just never
Right.
did it. And now my
Yes.
kids are grown. They're out of the house.
Yep.
Let's go do it. Let's go be a nurse.
And I hear that a lot from travel nurses, people that said, "Oh, I waited so long. I always wanted to be a travel nurse. I always wanted to go and explore. I always wanted to get an RV and just go around the country. But I had job or I had kids or had whatever that kept me. And now it's finally my turn." And it's just exciting to me when people get to go chase their dreams and
Yeah.
see things. And I love national parks. I'm a big nature girl. So being able to go out and see all the new things and go hiking all the places is great. That was one of my favorite things about actually being in Montana is Glacier National Park has a lot of ranger guided hiking.
Oh,
So
really?
you could be a single person hiking and be able to be with a group. So there was many every single day. It's just told you at this trailhead, meet here at this time. So you got to hike safely in bear country with other people to your ability level, even though you're single and doing it alone. So
That's cool. That's cool. Of all the places you traveled, what place did you like what places did you like the most?
feel like it's so hard because there's hospitals in general that I like the most, or people I worked with at hospitals that I love the most. And then there's cities that I love the most, or experiences. So I feel like everywhere has gotten something great. Growing up in Pennsylvania for a while, it always kind of felt like home to me. So anytime I'm back in Pennsylvania, and I love it there. But Tennessee has been awesome. I really will say it's very high up on the list, if not the highest.
Yeah,
The crew I worked with at the hospital here is amazing. And if you're staff here, you get to work the Titans games. So that's
that's
pretty
kind of fun.
sweet. And all the concerts. I mean, when Taylor Swift was here, they were all part of the medical team at the concert. So you get to listen to
That's
some
cool.
music for free.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah. So
oh,
it's been great. Yeah. I love it. Tennessee. I grew up in, I keep saying I grew up. I've moved so much. A lot of my life as a young kid was in California. So I went to some of high school there. I went to college there, was there for junior high. So California, everyone's supposed to love California or hate California. We're very divided. I will say there have been very few places that come to the national parks and the beauty of California. I love to snowboard. There's great snowboarding. I like to scuba dive. You're right at the ocean. You could scuba dive and snowboard the same day if you really want, although depending on the elevation change,
yeah,
probably shouldn't.
probably not.
But I will say you can do pretty much anything. Dirt bike, ski, surf, all on the same day. So that's been awesome. But really, there's so many areas of the country. You really can't go wrong. Just depends on what you're looking for. I like being able to do things and go to concerts and stuff like that alone. So that's the nice thing in the city is when you're alone, you can go to concerts, fine. But I love farm country life too. So like the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia, beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a very hard question to answer. I'm not giving you a good answer.
All right, you're throwing out a lot of bombs of great places for people to travel if they decide they wanted to do that. So
Absolutely. I mean, you really can't go wrong with pretty much any area of the country. you just got to think, what do you enjoy doing? If you love nature, you probably aren't going to like Dallas. There is no nature around. But if you love cities and you like being around people and bar scene, or, they have a really nice art scene, that'd be great. So Dallas would be the place for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I'm so glad we had a chance to catch up, and thank you
Me
so much for spending
too.
the time and catching us up on where you've been. I'll when I post this episode, I'll post the previous interview we did also, and just so folks can kind of hear the difference between then and now. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that one that definitely is filled with more nursing stuff and nursing advice. But I feel like the big advice here is nursing is part of your life. It is not your life. So do
amen.
amazing things when you're at the hospital, but then live a huge, amazing life outside of it.
Love that. Love that. That is great advice. That's the kind of advice people need to hear. So,
Well, it's always a
very cool.
pleasure hanging out with you, Kevin. You're the
You
best.
too. You too. I'm so excited. So,
Thank you.
very cool.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Art of Emergency Nursing podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Facebook.